Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Geneva Digital Market 2020, the professional program of the Geneva International Film Festival. We're very happy to host this year a new program which is called Innovative Strategies for Digital Museology and which was designed in collaboration with Virtual Switzerland. The Innovative Strategies for Digital Museology program aims to foster exchange between the field of new technologies, academia, creative industries, and museum institutions in order to discuss and to meet the specific needs of the latter in terms of digital innovation. Based on the different digital strategies of a selection of Swiss museums, the idea is to discuss the problematics related to their implementation and to offer potential collaborations to overcome them. This event will take place over one day today, and it will alternate keynotes, museum presentations, and creative matchmaking. We have the pleasure to welcome later this morning the Musée d'Art et d'Histoire de Genève, the Musée Ariana, the Stadtmuseum Erau, and the Tibet Museum. They will each present the specific challenges they encounter within their institutions. We will end the day with a closing keynote by Scott Gillam from the Canadian Museum for Human Rights and Pascal Hufschmidt, the director of the International Red Crescent Museum here in Geneva. The keynote at the end of the day will be hosted by Laetitia Bochu from Virtual Switzerland, who I take the opportunity to warmly thank for her active support and enthusiasm. To start this program, we have the pleasure to welcome Sarah Kenderdine for an opening keynote. Professor Sarah Kenderdine researches at the forefront of interactive and immersive experiences for galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. She is professor of Digital Museology at the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne in Switzerland, where she has built the Laboratory for Experimental Museology, EM+. She explores the convergence of aesthetic practice, visual analytics, and cultural data. She is also the director and lead curator of the EPFL New Art and Science Initiative Art Lab. So welcome, Sarah. It's a pleasure to have you among us today.
Can you hear me now? Yeah,
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be speaking to you, and I'm really delighted that GIF has convened this session together with Virtual Switzerland on digital museology. As a festival, they've been taking visionary perspectives for some years now into the world of an expanded cinema. And this seems ever more relevant today. And I'm very grateful to the organizers and also the hardworking technical teams that are behind these kinds of online collaborations. I'll share with you the work of the Laboratory for Experimental Museology at EPFL, which is this transdisciplinary initiative mentioned at the intersection of imaging technologies, immersive visualization, visual analytics, and digital aesthetics. We're engaged in research from scientific, artistic, and humanistic perspectives. And we promote a multi-sensory engagement using experimental platforms. Our research explores the ways in which mechanistic descriptions of database logic can be replaced and computation can become experiential, spatial, and materialized, embedded, and embodied a landscape for the senses. And I'm assuming that everybody is seeing my slides at this stage. I can hear a lot of background noise. Is that a yes? Hope so. It was the CEO of Intel, Brian Krasnick, who declared in 2014, we're in the midst of a transformation from a world of screens and devices to a world of immersive experiences. But a quick introduction to media art history informs us that what he was really observing was hundreds of years of development in these prosthetic architectures of the senses. From the Kaiser panorama to the sensorama, the emergence of immersive environments coincided with the sublimation of curatorial praxis inside machines and represented the greatest challenge to the passive viewer since the invention of the roller coaster. For the past 20 years, I've been designing and building large-scale interactive platforms for public engagement with art, culture, and science. This work was originally located at Museum Victoria in Melbourne, Australia, where I started to build these large-scale systems. I then started to collaborate with universities to help sustain big-scale infrastructure, initially at the iCinema, the Center for Interactive Cinema Research. I then co-established the Applied Laboratory for Interactive Visualization and Embodiment with Professor Jeffrey Shaw at the Science Park in Hong Kong as part of City University. I then returned to Australia and founded the Expanded Perception and Interaction Centre at UNSW. Seen here on the right side of your screen is a small 7-meter diameter panorama comprised of 56 projectors and a 29 computer cluster. It's at the edge of human visual acuity, and this panorama was designed to solve visualization problems for complexity and big data in the humanities and in the sciences. So with the demands for computation at the cornerstone of my research, I came to EPFL because it represented a profound opportunity to work with the world's best in engineering, data science, computer vision, and machine learning. And at EPFL, I've configured 10 large-scale immersive platforms in a 1,000 square meter space through which to pioneer computational museology. These strategies offer us, or these systems rather, offer us strategies for multi-sensory engagement and give us powerful ways to reformulate narrative in a digital context, emphasizing human to human as well as human to machine interaction. My lab harnesses technologies that have unprecedented abilities to capture the world around us. Laser scanning, for example, collects billions of points to represent places such as these heads at Mount Rushmore that you see here, scanned by the Scottish 10. Advances in machine learning are also an emerging trend. We recently installed the photogrammetric model of Nefertari's tomb, which was collected in only 8 hours of photography, in which machine learning is used to create a model of billions of points. This model was then transferred to our 360 3D environment of 40 million pixels as a world-first demonstrator for Unreal Engine's end-display technology, synchronized across a powerful 11 PC graphics cluster. We can create precious objects in 3D and peer inside to see what was previously unseen. We can also capture art in a way that lets us zoom into the tiniest brushstroke and reveal more than the naked eye can see. And we're also capturing embodied knowledge through various forms of motion capture and motion over time analytics. And it's from a large body of research that I've selected just 4 themes to share with you today. Interactive archives. We know that moving image and sound archives are the major records of the 20th and 21st century. The sheer size and temporal nature of audiovisual material represents its custodians with significant challenges related to access. Copyright restrictions further complicate this, and most of our important material can only be accessed in institutional settings and not distributed online. Meaningful engagement with these vast archives is of primary concern to most GLAM sector. The Jazz Luminaries is based on EPFL's seminal Montreux Jazz Archive digitization project. The installation cuts, remixes, and replays 5,400 artists and 13,000 videos from a total archive of 11,000 hours. The neural net type image that you see here is based on the social network of the artists, and the clustering is based on the number of times that these artists played with other artists. So at the very center of this neural net is, in fact, B.B. King. So visitors lie under a full dome using a spherical interface to navigate this constellation, emulating the hemisphere of the dome itself in which it is staged. The search paradigm is akin to tuning a radio, searching by listening. And this circumvents the lack of public knowledge into who the jazz greats actually are. Hearing what you like drives the design to unfold in 3 layers: sample, all songs, full song. Now, we know that at most museums, only a fraction of the collections are on display. At the British Museum, it's 0.4%. At Museum Victoria, it's 0.8%. And we created a data browser for their 360 system, which is an export of 100,000 records from the content management system. It took 15 minutes to get the data for this project. It's distributed temporally around the 360, and you can drive in the Z-axis and access an infinite number of records. You can zoom into the images. It makes a wordle from the description of the object. You can access the original record, but perhaps most importantly, it draws metadata relationships between 18 completely different themes, trying to join natural sciences, social history, and indigenous material together. So it's like a real-time curating machine where you'll always be presented with the unexpected. Notice here again, there is no text search engine. Traditionally, museums are ordering machines, generating conventions of looking, institutionalized with the qualities of mechanized reason, similitude, homeostasis, and miniaturization. While digital installations may be at the threshold of new ways of seeing, this work continues to occupy an uneasy space in museums where their artful materialities of intangibility, reproducibility, and transmittability pose a threat to institutionalized claims of uniqueness and authenticity. They challenge our conventions of interpretation. Recent debates, however, clearly indicate how digital copies, in fact, any type of replica or rendering, form part of the trajectory of the originating object's cultural career. The artist Davis in the 1970s used this wonderful term, the post-original original, while the conservator Adam Lowe described for the New Yorker recently how a digitally recorded copy can be both a load of forensically accurate information and also a vehicle for evoking deep emotional response. This is the Donghuang Caves in northernmost China, 492 caves carved into this escarpment, and inside 45,000 square meters of painted frescoes and over 2,000 stucco statues crafted by Buddhist monks over a period of 1,000 years. This sublime art treasury is like nothing else in the Chinese Buddhist world. Almost all these caves are closed to the public to ensure their preservation, and the digital is the only mode of visitation in an era like ours, which is characterized by heritage at risk. We created 5 works, and I'm just going to explore one with you in detail on this particular site using one data set from Cave 220. Here we print the wireframe from the laser scan on the walls of an exhibition booth. This was originally done for Art Basel in Hong Kong. Visitors now walk around inside the digital model. It's like having a window on the world to this high resolution camera array photography of the cave. And an interface like this has qualities which are are worth talking about in the museum context. Firstly, it harnesses socialization around a single screen. Socialization is at the core of the museum experience. It's not about giving everybody their own device. It's also an interface that works for young kids, middle-aged ladies, grandmother and grandchild. Grandmother abandons the grandchild and takes off with the screen. And its third most noteworthy quality is that of virtual tourism. Here we have the wife takes an iPad from her handbag and she's filming her husband's experience as if they were really there. And while a work like this oscillates in the digital media art world, it is also more normally included as part of classic object exhibitions, such as this collection from Xi'an at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And we've used these opportunities to extensively study the proliferation of aura that the digital provides for these object exhibitions. The data is also reformed as an interactive experience for the World Dome, for a full dome at the World Economic Forum. The pyramidal shape of the cave maps perfectly to the hemisphere of the full dome, giving us a convincing sense of height. And here we run live tours for the WEF delegates with an eminent Chinese monk. And here the same data set again, but this time in 360 3D. So a single data set is used to create 5 distinct exhibition installations and has now been seen by over 1 million people worldwide. And it's the malleability of digital data that's one of its intrinsic qualities. Embodying cultural imaginaries. The dome of the Prince of Wales Museum was adopted as the epicenter of an artistic exploration that specifically focuses on the ceiling architectures of Mumbai's heritage and contemporary buildings and transforms them into an urban celestial imaginary. Mumbai's architectural heritage is unrivaled in India. The city has one of the largest representations of grand neo-Gothic style architecture, numerous examples of Indo-Saracenic architecture, and one of the world's largest number of Art Deco buildings. We shot 160 gigapixels throughout the city. That was the Baujilard Museum. This is Terminal 2, the new Mumbai airport. The dome from Sydney was relocated under the 60-foot ceiling of the Prince of Wales Museum, and it allowed about 2,000 people a day to come and rediscover their city with fresh eyes. It was open to all and gave new perspectives on the many spaces that are socially exclusive despite their public heritage status. And the work uses a computer vision algorithm which randomly selects any pair of images and creates a unique transition every time between them. So in effect, you can lie there all day and you'll never see the same thing twice. And this concept of an experiential domed environment emerged from the attempts to stimulate a spherical gestalt of the human visual field and was designed to exploit and extend sensory perceptions, as it has done in many religious structures throughout the world. In collaboration with the National Museum of Australia, we created 2 other dome experiences depicting the songline of the 7 Sisters. This songline portrays one of the most defining meta-narratives in ancient mainland Australia and was never told in the public domain until this exhibition. The permission to do this work was 7 years in negotiation. So the first of these works takes us to a sacred cave which has never ever been photographed before. We're using here photogrammetry, time-lapse photography, gigapixel imaging, drone-based panoramas. And this is all combined with ambisonics to allow visitors intimate views of the stories contained within its sandstone folds. And the second journey immerses visitors in a series of artworks made by the custodians of the story and used to tell the narrative of the 7 sisters as they travel country These jumpy figures were collected by the museum, and photogrammetric models were made, and the artist painted specific depictions of the song line specifically for the full dome, and then helped interpret this so we could create this animated experience. The resulting work is an artist-led journey through the landscape of Australia, a contemporary morality tale that unfolds where this snake is the main protagonist. This project was a watershed in curatorial and Indigenous relations in Australia. This is a shot from the opening of that exhibition. It won a whole series of major awards, and now it's able to tour the world post-COVID, let's hope, in a full dome that the museum has now purchased themselves. So the collaboration resulted in the museum actually investing in a large-scale system like this. For the original exhibition, they borrowed mine. The archaeology of the body, or embodied knowledge, and its processes of digital documentation, reproduction, and transmission in museological contexts are perhaps one of the most contested of the museological spaces at the moment. Intangible cultural expressions are socially transmitted and intimately linked to people, and these practices, oral traditions, and performances are defined by their reliance on these embodied knowledge systems. The Hong Kong Martial Arts Living Archive is a project that we started in 2012, and it's still going on. It's based on the extraordinary reservoir in Hong Kong of intangible heritage, particularly of the Hakka people. And from the early to mid 20th century, Hong Kong provided refuge for teeming thousands of immigrants from mainland China, and amongst them some of the most prominent martial artists in the world. With globalization, urbanization, and dwindling numbers of practitioners, this living heritage made internationally so famous by Jackie Chan, Gordon Liu, and Hong Kong cinema is now in danger of becoming lost. And the Living Archive is a 4D typology based on extensive motion capture, a host of green screen technologies, and high-speed video, and so on. It's comprised of 130 empty hand and weapon sequences from 33 elite masters. This is Oscar. Both his father and great-great-grandfather were Kung Fu masters. From the motion capture, of course, we can extract a model and then annotate that model over time. There have been 9 exhibitions worldwide of this material, and now the Hong Kong government is building a museum and a research center for the archive. We've had an exhibition actually in Switzerland at EPFL's Art Lab in 2018. There are many, many installations, and through interactive applications, various Kung Fu forms can be reinterpreted through these motion over time analysis. And echoing advances in Labo notation, the project is continuing to advance automated systems for describing and analyzing human movement, a set of resources for teaching and learning through simulation and application in serious games, museum exhibits, and even robotics. Many of the interfaces are building on these ideas of embodied and performed acts that generate, record, and transmit knowledge. And the way for us to read mocap's hidden traces is to reenact the gesture on display, as you can see here. Lam Sai Wing is an interesting character. He was the first Kung Fu master to use photography in studio practice. We have many photos of him, and we also have hand drawings of him performing certain taolu. And this one is iron wire boxing. And we used the photography to create a 3D model of him. And we applied the motion capture data set from his great-great-grandnephew to create this quite strange archival object, which stands life-size in the galleries. It's a chi building exercise. Other documentations include ultra high-speed video, 500 to 1,000 frames a second. This is Yao Wanhua in action. He's in his 80s. And a range of multimodal recordings of rituals and Taoist festivals. This one here celebrating the end of a plague. So I thought it was an appropriate one to include at this time. So just to finish, a reenactment project, remaking the Confucian rites together with Tsinghua University. And this is again focused on the Chinese body to recreate specific rituals which haven't been performed for hundreds of years, and based on the Book of Etiquette and Rites, or Yi Li, a core text in the Confucian canon. These were institutionally banned at the end of dynastic China in 1911. Confucian Li is a concept that covers the realms of aesthetics, ethics, and ideology. It's also a technique of the body, a skill which is learnt and inscribed. And these are sequences from the capping ceremony to extract movements in a scientific way, using manuscripts to reconstruct these rituals and to recreate, based on archaeological materials, all of the costumes, ritual utensils, and so on. And ultimately, this project explores innovative visualization solutions to achieve the highest levels of interpretive appreciation, where the exact articulation of movement, gesture, and meaning can be interactively studied by the viewer. These are just shots from the archery ceremony. You can see the scale at which we are working here. It's 1-to-1 scale, actually. So a giant green screen studio, Professor Peng with the costumes, with the utensils. The performers are all Beijing opera. They're very elite performers. And we bring in a range of camera techniques to film them in a multimodal setting. As we advance this project, we're also increasingly looking to transform these methods into full virtual production technologies. Here you see just two of the arches, but everything else is computer graphics. Ultimately, we will create a motion library of the Confucian body and interfaces both for public and for scholars. The work finds its way around the world. The opening of the China Exchange in London, it gets picked up in the contemporary art world. And here it complements an object show of ceremonial vessels at the Art Institute, Chicago. And this leads me to my final slide, that is to introduce an exhibition that I'll curate and produce next year in September, Deepfakes Art and its Double. And this will pick up on many of these themes: the ditto, the mimeo, the doppelganger, mirror worlds, digital twins, replicas, simulacras, forensics, aura, authenticity, and authorship are all up for grabs in this particular show. The exhibition will take place here at Art Lab, or to be rebranded as EPFL Pavilions, an amplifier for science in society, which blends experimental curatorship and contemporary aesthetics with open science, digital humanism, and emerging technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us today and for presenting your research and your projects with us. And we look pleasure to see the future exhibition at Art Lab in September. Thank you, and have a nice day, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity.
And I'm now gonna let my colleague Marie Mayoli present the Swiss museums that will be with us today and that will present their specific digital strategies with us.
Hi, and it's a change. Welcome back. We will now, as my colleague Camille said, start with the presentations. So we'll have 4 museums present their digital strategies. And we'll start with our friends from Stadtmuseum Aarau, and Marc Grieshammer, museum director, will present first, and then I will ask some questions. Let's get started.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. And I just start my presentation. I'm here at, can you see the presentation now? Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much for having me with you. I'm here at the, my name is Mark Grieshammer. I'm the director of the Stadtmuseum Aarau. That's how our museum looks from the outside. We were just, we had a rebuilding. You see on the right-hand side, there's an old tower that dates back to the 13th century. So a very, very old building, one of the oldest here in Aarau. And just right beside it, our new building, which was opened in 2015. So one of our main goals here is in Aarau is to bring the old and the new together and to collect and share and tell the stories of our communities together with our communities, and at the same time to accompany them to our time of changes that we have. So changes socially, culturally, but as well digitally. And I just will take you through a little tour through our museum and to show what we mean by that. That's when you're entering our museum. This is our big foyer. Where we have the possibilities to have small exhibitions, showcases, and so on, which are usually free for the public. Then we have a permanent exhibition. As I said, one of our aims is to bring old and new together. Here you see that we have old layers of tapestry from back from the 18th century, and in front of that, an inside model of the museum, which has a digital twin. Maybe we have time to talk about this as well. The permanent exhibition tells the stories of the people that lived or still live in Aarau. We call that 100 times Aarau, so that means 100 people, 100 stories of their lives, of what they were doing. And here you see the first room, which represents this 100 people with one object for one person. So we have in our collection, we have about 60,000 objects. And as you can, we show in our permanent exhibition about 1,200 of them. A big part is photography. We have a big photography collection, and which actually dates back in the middle of 19th century. We are lucky to have like all the technical development of photography with us. There has been a man from Aarau who went to Paris to Monsieur Daguerre and actually was his apprentice. So we really do have photography from the very first, very beginning of photography. This is one of the exhibitions room where you on the walls you see the original photography, and in the middle of it there is this little sofa, and there you can take an iPad and look at the pictures in details and get all the information. The aim here is to look at the original at the walls and then get all the information on an iPad individually. In our tower, we also have a big room with a camera obscura. That means we have little holes in our windows that lets with lens in it and projects the outside world upside down. That's actually happens in our head, and our mind is able to turn it. So we have a really big camera obscura. So just to emphasize for here the importance of photography. In the new building, we have an exhibition room, and there we have changing exhibitions. One is about the press photography. I've chosen this picture because we do have a cooperation with the Bildarchiv. That's the archive of vom Blick, Schweiz Illustrierte, and all the boulevard medias in Switzerland. They have about 7 million pictures, analog pictures there, and one of our task is to display them, to show them to public, to tell these stories as well, and to make them accessible. So. And I come back on the difficulties or how we try to make that happen to as much people as possible. There's another picture from this exhibition here. Then last year we had an exhibition that was called Play, and this was about digital games. And as I said, we try to accompany our communities through times of changes, and digitalization has a lot to do, or for a lot of people, as well as getting comfortable with digital devices. And here in this exhibition, Play was an exhibition that you actually played through the whole exhibition. So we gave a tablet to our audience, and then they walked around the exhibition and played a game that we invented especially for that. We worked with augmented reality, and as you see on these pictures, this was never like playing alone. There's always playing together. So bringing people together is really important for us as well. As you can see on this picture, you see like grandfather, father, and son playing together, and this picture really like that, because the grandfather at the end, he was the one that played or stayed the longest to play, and he had never used the PlayStation before. So this is or like getting people comfortable with technical devices. We had a lot of grandchildren and grandfather, grandmothers coming in together, and then using their knowledge of the kids to make the elders comfortable with the device, and using their knowledge of the grandparents to share what they know about storytelling, how they used to tell stories, and also together. So getting back to our foyer, as I said, here we have the possibilities to have exhibitions or showcases. Here we from time to time we have virtual reality things put up. We had the friends from Geneva, from the Geneva International Festivals 2 years ago. Here we planned that they will come this November, but due to COVID, we postponed that. But here the idea as well that people could come to the museum, make their experience with these devices, get comfortable. As well, again, kids, parents, grandparents, all them together. At the moment, we have an exhibition called Just Virtual Realities, VR Playgrounds to be explored. We have a cooperation with the Fantoche Film Festival. Fantoche is an animated film festival, and they gave us their virtual reality installations they had put up, and we show them again here. We had Gilles Chauvin 1 year ago here with his VRI project. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. That's here you had the possibilities to like being together as a group within its dance performance that looked like this. And shortly coming back to the difficulties, or maybe one thing that here in our or how we work as a museum, we are a small museum. Aarau has about 22,000 people that live here. We have about 30,000 people coming into our museum. So that means we have people coming from a large part of the German-speaking part of Switzerland, but like 30,000, it's not so many. It's not that big a museum. So as well, we have some money for this. Sometimes, as I know, expensive technologies. But what we try to do here is to find a cooperation with others, offering them a public place, offering them as well for developers a place where they can like public testing and all sorts of trying to have win-win situations for to share costs, but as well to share experience, to share knowledge, and so on. This one is now I'm coming back to this archive project we have. As I said, the Linie Bildarchiv, they have like 7 million pictures, and the only way to get into this archive or to find things is with a word engine, search engine. So that means the access to the database is only for knowing people. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to know maybe what actually is already in there, and we are looking for a way that goes away from this word search engines. And what we had here was a cooperation with the Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz. The student that you see on this picture, is in his master thesis, and he developed an AR model. That means we have a picture cloud here with like 3,000 pictures, and the idea is that you get closer with your tablet, and then trying to find a picture just by your curiosity. So, okay, I like this picture, look at it, and you go on. So we are actually, but this is just a really prototype based on a master thesis. So you see that's not very developed, and we are actually still, or this is the research part, or the way we'd really like to have using all this new digital technology to get people access, and people that do not know what they will find, like not knowing, looking for like by keywords, but just to looking at pictures and selecting them, and by curiosity. So I guess my 10 minutes are up by now, and I'm at the end of my presentation. So thank you. I hope this was it gave you a little insight of what we are doing, and I'm happy to have questions. Yep.
Thank you very much, Mark, for this very interesting presentation. Just 1 minute. Can I see Mark? Yes? Okay, great. I see you now. It feels better. Thanks for the presentation. For my first questions right away, I must say, is like, how is this like the current situation, the current sanitary crisis, and the closing of cultural institutions and all this have an impact on the exhibitions that you plan to have this year? Je l'entends pas. You need to activate your microphone.
Again? Okay,
yes,
sorry.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now I hear you.
Okay. We had to postpone some things that we actually planned. Here in Aarau, we had the situation that we're still open. We are reduced to a certain amount of people that could come in. The virtual reality exhibition, as you see, that takes place at the moment, is open for the public, but honestly, there's not many people coming. I mean, it's obvious, like, people should stay at home, but those who want to come and to find us, it's still possible to come. But exhibition-wise, next year we would have had something in March that is postponed because we do not know how can we build it or shall we build. So we just prolonged our current exhibition.
And the new technologies that, as you use it now within the museum, is it to present then past collections you have within the museum, or is it to show other inputs?
Yep. Yes, we have both. Like, we have one thing that we really want to do is really bring people into the museum and get comfortable with new technology. Yeah. And for example, now in this the VR exhibition, as we do have now, there is some VR exhibition parts that we actually have from other museums to get into collection of another museum, for example, as well. So we do both. We do as well have art thing as the David Choba, that was a performance thing. Actually, here we are open, as I said, to create win-win situations.
Yes. Okay, and all this strategy that was like implemented, you implemented it from the inside, or did you have like people helping you from outside?
The thing that is that we first from as we had the new museum just rebuilt in 2015, we knew from the beginning that new technology and digitalization will be one of the things that we actually think that a museum should do now. The role of a museum as a public place to bring people together, to share knowledge, not only to give knowledge that we have, but also to share knowledge that people have and come in and share it together. That new technology is one part of these things. And so that means that we did not have to, we were able to rebuild our internal structure as well, and to rebuild from scratch on our new strategy. So we did not have the struggles to change old manners or all habits and all these things. So that was a big advantage. But of course we need, and we are looking for inputs from the outside. We do not have many resources inside. We have one person actually, which is for the digital, for all the digital things. She's responsible for everything digital. That means exhibition, but as well all the learnings and workshops and all these things. And she works like 60%. So we always need, for every project, we need to get partners
exactly on board. And that will be maybe my last questions. We have experts now online listening to us, and you will have meetings this afternoon with the selection of them, and how, like, what would you need to put and to go further in your digital strategies right now? What type of experts and what are you looking for?
Like, one thing is the archive thing, how you get archive accessible, not by search engines that are unique keywords for that. This is one thing, but the other thing is like that we have our foyer, and that we are really, this is in our understanding, this opportunity for others to showcase their things, to come in, to share, to experiment as well. We are open to experiment, so open to some experiments, sometimes they go out right, sometimes they fail, but it's not a problem for us. Really, it's the thing to come and do and come and try and be public and share what you have.
So you kind of offer an open stage for trials, yes, and new ideas.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you. Was a pleasure to have you. We'll speak later, and I wish you all the best of luck for the following month, and have good meetings this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
And have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Bye bye, Marc. Ciao ciao. So now we will come back to Geneva and actually have David Matet, cultural mediator from les musées d'art et d'histoire de Genève, present their digital strategies.
Bonjour à tous et merci de m'accueillir pour cette conférence. Merci au GIF, merci pour tout votre travail. Et puis je trouve très bien que vous ayez pu quand même persévérer et puis quand même justement réaliser ce Digital Market. Donc félicitations à toutes et à tous. Voilà, donc assez schématiquement, le musée d'art et d'histoire est un grand musée, un moyen musée on va dire, qui expose actuellement à peu près 7000 objets pour à peu près 650 000 qui dorment dans nos réserves. Le musée d'art et d'histoire a 110 ans cette année. Et nous sommes en train de travailler sur un grand projet de rénovation et d'agrandissement de l'institution. Donc, c'est un moment tout à fait propice à aussi lancer une réflexion profonde sur l'usage du digital correct dans notre institution. D'où la stratégie que je vais vous présenter maintenant. Au musée d'art d'histoire, dans les musées en général, il y a en tout cas 4 domaines dans lesquels le digital a un usage propre, on va dire. Il y a déjà la gestion des collections. On utilise en ville de Genève un logiciel Museum Plus où toutes les informations liées aux pièces de nos collections sont rassemblées. C'est un élément fondamental, effectivement, pour la gestion, pour la régie, pour la gestion des collections et pour la régie de nos œuvres. Et donc là, le numérique, ça fait déjà très longtemps qu'on l'utilise à cette fin. Ensuite, le musée d'art et d'histoire a la chance d'abriter une importante bibliothèque d'art et d'archéologie, la plus importante de Suisse qui, au-delà de conserver des fonds, des livres d'artistes, des fonds aussi anciens, eh bien, numérise, met à disposition sous format digital un grand nombre de livres, de catalogues. Et donc, il y a aussi un usage ici du numérique, au-delà du catalogage en ligne, pour donner accès simplement à nos collections. Il y a un travail de fond par rapport à la préservation, justement, de ces ouvrages, de ces livres, de ces catalogues. Il y a plusieurs dizaines de milliers d'ouvrages qui sont d'ores et déjà numérisés, et on continue ce travail de fond aussi pour préserver, bien sûr, ce patrimoine. Ensuite, au musée d'art et d'histoire, effectivement, il y a tout ce qui concerne Internet, on va dire, la mise à disposition de nos événements, de nos collections sur le web, depuis n'importe où, à n'importe quelle heure. Ça, c'est la communication donc, qui s'en occupe chez nous, qui gère aussi les réseaux sociaux, effectivement, où bien, on s'attelle à mettre en évidence les coulisses de l'institution, mettre en évidence tel ou tel projet. Mais cet aspect donc, est géré par la communication. Ça, c'est l'accès au musée, on va dire, en tout temps et en tout lieu. Le quatrième domaine dans lequel on utilise depuis longtemps le numérique, c'est la médiation culturelle. C'est des dispositifs à l'intérieur de notre institution, en contact avec les œuvres originales, qui est un élément aussi extrêmement important. Et aujourd'hui, il y a vraiment un travail très, très passionnant à mener par rapport à toutes les technologies, réalité virtuelle, réalité augmentée notamment, qui s'offrent à nous. Mais là, on est vraiment à l'intérieur du bâtiment, à l'intérieur des collections et en contact direct avec les objets d'art et les œuvres que l'on abrite. Donc, 4 domaines, je dirais, principaux par rapport à l'usage du digital au musée. Et ce que l'on tend à faire aujourd'hui, c'est de tisser vraiment des ponts, des liens extrêmement forts entre ces 4 domaines, de créer un véritable écosystème, on va dire, qui va lier en fait les différents domaines, les différents potentiels de ces domaines. Si un dispositif est installé en salle, eh bien, tout ce qui va émaner de ce dispositif va directement être issu de la gestion des collections. La communication aussi va faire un travail pour faire rayonner ce projet, travailler sur la notoriété de l'institution, inviter les gens à s'engager, à participer aussi à ce que l'on propose dans nos salles. L'idée, c'est vraiment, comme je l'ai dit, de créer un véritable écosystème digital à l'intérieur du musée. À partir de là, il y a 2 axes fondamentaux sur lesquels on travaille et on va continuer de travailler. C'est d'une part la thésaurisation, on va dire, ou la concrétisation des formules qui ont fait leurs preuves, qui ont fonctionné, des solutions que l'on apprécie, que le public apprécie, que le public utilise. Il y a bien sûr, comme pour tout le monde, un travail très important au niveau du suivi des usages des visiteurs réels ou virtuels qui doit être fait. Il y a des adaptations aussi toujours à proposer par rapport à ces produits. Mais effectivement, il y a une sorte de base sur laquelle on peut travailler avec des produits éprouvés qui fonctionnent et sur lesquels on veut continuer à travailler. Et puis à côté de ça, il y a aussi une perspective très importante au musée d'art et d'histoire, c'est de créer une sorte de laboratoire, de tester justement des nouvelles formules digitales, des nouvelles formules numériques. On a vu l'année passée justement avec la réalité virtuelle le projet Genève 1850 qu'on a conduit avec Artanim, qui a remporté un franc succès auprès du public. C'est des solutions qu'il faut explorer, c'est des produits qu'il faut expérimenter. On veut vraiment ouvrir la porte justement à ces expérimentations, faire du musée d'art et d'histoire un vrai laboratoire en termes de digital. Et là, il y a aussi un élément qui est très important, c'est tout ce qui se fait en termes d'art numérique. On a la chance à Genève d'avoir des festivals de tout premier rang à ce niveau-là, le Mapping Festival notamment, et d'autres, le GIF aussi. Et donc justement, l'idée, c'est aussi vraiment de de favoriser, de présenter, de faire du musée d'histoire une plateforme où les arts numériques puissent aussi s'exprimer. Un lieu de rencontre et, comme je le disais, vraiment un lieu d'expérimentation. Si tout va bien, dans une dizaine d'années, on réouvrira un musée d'art et d'histoire rénové, agrandi, tout neuf. L'idée, c'est vraiment que durant ces quelques années qui nous restent avant la réouverture du musée, on expérimente des choses pour être vraiment à la page par rapport aux usages, par rapport aux technologies qu'il faut utiliser dans les musées. L'idée, c'est vraiment de proposer un usage contemporain du digital dès aujourd'hui, mais vraiment ensuite par rapport à ce grand objectif qu'est la réouverture du musée. Donc voilà pour les grandes lignes de notre stratégie aujourd'hui. Effectivement, l'écosystème digital et ensuite solidification des formules qui fonctionnent et expérimentation dans tous les domaines possibles et imaginables en termes de numérique. Voilà, je suis allé peut-être un petit peu vite, mais c'est grosso modo la stratégie digitale telle qu'on la vit aujourd'hui au musée d'art et d'histoire. Donc, je suis vraiment à votre disposition pour des questions et une discussion.
Ok. Vous m'entendez? Ouais, vous m'entendez. Ah, il m'entend pas.
Non, voilà,
Ah,
c'est bon.
si vous m'entendez, c'est super. Alors, c'est super. Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. J'ai quelques questions. Ma première question, c'est justement, aujourd'hui, du coup, avec la situation actuelle, MH est fermé. Et je voulais savoir si, pour vous, vous aviez envie de mettre en place aussi un accès au MH malgré sa fermeture physique. Est-ce qu'il y a le public peut accéder au MH même s'il est fermé, c'est ça que je veux dire, par la voie digitale?
Oui, donc de toute façon, on espère qu'on pourra vite rouvrir nos portes,
Oui.
mais on avait déjà mis en place des projets digitaux pendant le premier semi-confinement. On avait un projet qui s'appelait le MH chez vous. En fait, l'idée, c'était que les visiteurs virtuels, entre guillemets, nous envoient une photo de leur intérieur et puis ensuite choisissent dans nos collections en ligne des œuvres du musée. Et puis là, il y a un travail qui se faisait chez nous où en fait, on plaçait les œuvres choisies par les visiteurs dans leur salon, dans leur cuisine ou que sais-je. Et puis cette idée justement de donner, de livrer les œuvres au musée de cette manière-là, ça a très bien fonctionné. Et je trouve que c'est intéressant en termes d'acquisition ou en termes de rapprochement par
Tout à fait,
rapport
avec son
à
public.
nos œuvres. Donc pour l'instant, là, on vient de changer toute notre identité visuelle, on a changé notre site, on est sur d'autres chantiers. Mais effectivement, ce type de propositions, au-delà même, je pense, du confinement, sont extrêmement intéressantes et en tout cas très appréciées. Donc on va poursuivre sur cette voie-là.
Et on avait discuté ensemble et vous l'avez bien représenté là que justement votre stratégie digitale, elle est vraiment à 360, elle est vraiment sur tout le musée en son entier est pensé comme tel. Et puis, en fait, je voulais savoir comment vous avez réussi à mettre ça en place, en fait. Parce que c'est pas encore tout à fait le cas chez tout le monde. Et puis, du coup, j'étais intéressée de savoir d'où venait cette énergie, comment vous avez créé cet écosystème de changement à l'interne pour que tous les départements s'alignent par rapport à cette stratégie numérique.
C'est un travail de longue haleine, parce qu'au début, on a, si vous me passez l'expression, on a un petit peu bricolé. Les uns travaillaient dans leur coin, les autres dans le leur, et puis sans forcément une grande cohésion. Et tout d'un coup, on se rendait compte qu'effectivement, tel projet aurait mérité d'avoir été aussi piloté par un autre secteur pour que justement être d'autant plus riche. Et puis justement, là, on s'est mis autour d'une table. Et puis on s'est dit, maintenant, effectivement, plutôt que de travailler que le secteur de la médiation culturelle, que le secteur de la communication en vase clos, mettons-nous ensemble, partageons nos projets et regardons comment les uns et les autres peuvent interagir autour de ces intérêts. Et puis voilà, donc on l'a mis en place désormais. Et puis j'espère que justement, ça va continuer à bien fonctionner.
Et du coup, comme outil digital que vous avez utilisé pour la médiation jusqu'à aujourd'hui, vous pourriez nous donner un exemple concret ?
Très volontiers. L'année passée, on avait, il y a 2 ans à peu près, on a reçu une exposition venant d'Arles avec le fameux portrait de Jules César. Et sur la fin de l'exposition, on voulait montrer des pièces de notre lapidaire, des inscriptions romaines. C'est des documents qui sont extrêmement intéressants, mais qui sont, comment dire, très peu charmeurs quand on les présente. C'est compliqué de comprendre ce que ces inscriptions signifient. C'est assez froid comme matériau. Donc, ce qu'on avait fait, c'était un dispositif audiovisuel avec du mapping en fait, qui soulignait les inscriptions, et au fur et à mesure que la projection en fait, s'étendait sur les pierres, leur traduction, les explications liées à ça apparaissaient sur un mur de fond. Et puis, on avait décidé d'incarner en fait, les personnes à qui étaient dédiées ces inscriptions, pas du tout alors de manière sérieuse, beaucoup plus émotionnelle, on va dire. Donc, il y avait des gens qui vous parlaient en fait, au fur et à mesure que cette projection se déroulait. Donc là, c'était pour moi typiquement vraiment quelque chose d'assez intéressant parce qu'effectivement, les pierres, les inscriptions sur pierre, comme je le dis, sont des documents extrêmement secs, pas passionnants de prime abord, ce n'est pas des œuvres d'art non plus, mais là, on a vraiment réussi à les rendre vivantes. Donc ça a été aussi très apprécié, c'était une très belle expérience.
Et du coup, et du coup, là, pour le futur, voilà, comme je disais avant à Marc du Aargauer Museum, on a du coup des experts qui nous écoutent ce matin. Pour le futur, vous chercheriez quel profil? De qui avez-vous besoin? Qu'est-ce qui pourrait être ajouté en fait au MAH?
Alors, on a besoin absolument de tout le monde, parce que justement, comme je dis, on se donne beaucoup de peine, mais on est loin des experts, justement, en technologie digitale, même si effectivement, on fait beaucoup d'efforts pour aller voir ce que font les autres, pour se renseigner par rapport à tout ce qui se fait en termes de digital. Il y a des choses dont on sait déjà qu'on ne veut pas, mais il y a vraiment beaucoup de choses qu'on découvre jour après jour. Moi, ce que j'aimerais vraiment pouvoir faire, c'est, comme je le disais, que le MH devienne une plateforme aussi par rapport à des projets d'étudiants. Les grandes écoles digitales, entre guillemets, en Suisse sont nombreuses, extrêmement performantes. Donc, vraiment, de mener des projets en co-construction, vraiment que le MH devienne ce laboratoire dont je parlais, que ces collections deviennent accessibles au plus grand nombre, qu'on puisse les étudier, qu'on puisse s'amuser avec, qu'on puisse les partager au plus grand nombre, en restant vraiment focalisé en fait, sur cette idée d'expérimentation, de laboratoire à bon escient.
Bon bah super, on saura, pour les écoles pourront, et savent maintenant ce qu'elles peuvent faire avec vous. C'est très cool. Merci beaucoup. Voilà. Pour le moment, je vais passer on va passer à la suite. Je vous souhaite une bonne matinée, des bons rendez-vous, et puis à très bientôt. Alors, now we will introduce you Sophie Wirtz-Brentini du musée, from the Museum Ariana. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up languages. She will present the Museum Ariana, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. So I'm also a bit in between languages. I chose to do it in English, but sorry if I'm not precise enough or, well, interrupt me if something is not clear, please. So I'm Sophie from the Musée Ariana, Swiss Museum for Ceramics and Glass. We are actually the second museum existing in Geneva. We opened our doors late in the 19th century. Before the Musée d'Art et d'Histoire. We were there first, but it changed a lot of things for us because I wasn't there. Because actually our collector was collecting an encyclopedic way. So we had fine arts, armory, jewels, but ceramics. And when the Musée d'Art et d'Histoire opened its doors, the collections were spread all around the different institutions. So our building is patrimonial and we don't have lots of space, and we want to put into light as well as our collections, our building. And we became our specialization is a very good, has a very good and clear potential to tell stories, because ceramics concerns daily life, history, traveling and globalization, techniques, and art, ancient art, but also contemporary art. So it's quite motivating to work with all these informations gathered. Our collection is composed of about 28,000 ceramics, glasses, and vitrals, but mainly ceramics. And we have about 50,000 visitors a year, and our team is about 30 people. We started a new strategy lately because we have some changes announced for the next years, but our strategy is built on some experiences too. We developed already several projects in our temporary exhibitions. For example, as soon as 2013 in the Eric James Mellon, where we had a way to see the other sides of plates that were decorated all over. We also introduced QR codes to add some more informations in the exhibition rooms. We had a mapping on the facade. It was in the exhibition Terre d'Islam. So we had a partnership with artists and a company who created a whole work of art, actually, based on our collections, and it was seen from the outside of the building, of course. We have an online collection on which we are working on. We have a new website arriving, and we increased a lot our social media presence lately. We developed two games, one which was first made grandeur nature. So it was an evening where all people had to be in the, well, they played for an evening with a partner. And now it's a booklet, and it's all over. It's not an event anymore. It's on a daily use possible. And we also developed Geologics. It's a treasure hunt, which is on iPad. We have two new projects, one game for the smaller ones, and also one surprise. It's going to be in the streets of Geneva, probably. So as you see, lots of little things happening around. I'm alone on the project, and as David, we have to put everybody in line online to develop things that make sense. Our means are small, but now we have a little more means since we earned the subvention from the Confederation, and also since the Department of Culture in Geneva became the Department of Culture and Digital Transition, which means we don't have lots of means from that, but there is more light put into it, more motivation, more we are carried on this kind of process. What we started to reflect on is that we have to work in accordance with our limits, of course, as everyone, which means that we have to be parsimonious and intelligent. We have to make sense, as I said before. We have to connect with the real world. We don't want people to stay home discovering our collections. We want to bring them in our rooms, and here again to be complementary between social medias, things that maybe happen outside our walls before the visit, during the visit, and in a post-visit. We will have to avoid gadgets because we don't have means, and also we felt that it can be overwhelming for the visitor to have too many things going together at the same time. But gadgets can maybe test offers, so it's a nice équilibre, a nice balance to find. So digital is part of a whole. We have a building, not a lot of rooms. We don't have a room dedicated to augmented reality, for example. We really have to put into light our environment. And so in the light of the changes that are going to arrive in 2021, there will be some exhibition rooms that will slowly change one after the other, because the current exhibition, permanent exhibition, is open since 1995, so more than 25 years. And now we really are aware that museology and the demands of the visitors evolved and have other expectations. Ourselves as curators and museum educators, we also have other needs to explain and to present to our public. So those small changes will evolve over several years, room after room. And so it's an opportunity to renew our digital stance and point of view. But as it's going to be progressive, we developed an idea to start with one main project, which is going to be a web app that will replace our audio guide, with the goal to offer a multimedia guide to our publics. So first, to go slowly, we'll have to put the old audio guide into the new tool. So we'll have more languages, we'll have images and audio, of course, and step by step include multimedia, and why not augmented reality and virtual reality, very parsimoniously. And the exhibition rooms, there will be several tools present also. Several of them are considered. Of course, audio stations to be immersed with, for example, in ceramics, traveling is very central to the ceramic history. So we can really imagine to plunge our public into another environment thanks to multimedia. We'll have also tactile tables, and actually the means to want to develop the means to explore the richness of ceramics history and techniques. Why not go have a peek in an artist studio to make aware the public how the artist is living and what is a workshop, an artistic workshop. There is, of course, the whole excitement about the firing of ceramics. There are lots of different kilns available, and so it's very, on the side of audio and visually, it's very interesting. But what we think also is that these means in the rooms will clearly depend on the scenographic decisions. So we really have to move in a modular way and very agile, in an agile way, I would say. I'm sorry, I hope I'm quite clear. So we have to find the balance between the budget, the resources. We have also to, I'm not sure if I still have some time. I didn't keep track. What we realize also with the small experience we have is that our welcoming staff, our security staff, if he doesn't buy it, if he doesn't is included in it, the digital offer has no life in front of her. So we regularly started to train our staff on our new offers, and they will be part also of the discussion. We have to engage the public, and of course the obsolescence of all this material. Everything goes extremely fast for us when we are moving in a museum, and we have everybody who has lots of projects ongoing simultaneously. So well, you can decide something in 2020 and seeing it opening in 2023, and in 3 years we all know what's happening in digital way over the years. extremely quick. It's, I would say, a 6 months span, probably. So our priorities have to be our permanent collection, because our temporary exhibitions are moving too fast to be able to follow on our temporary exhibitions will be able to, will be a context to test new things, probably. As David, we are working in a transversal way, very horizontal, with the curation, education, security, communication, of course. And the goal is not the tool. This is a very important thing to keep in mind. The goal is to put the content into light, to value a history. So if we choose the tool before the content, it won't work. We have to communicate the content, and we'll try and keep it simple. I think I quite turned around what we are living with nowadays, and I'm open to your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophie, for your very clear and presentation. Thank you. Yes, we see really that this mediation has to be from inside out, and that like every partner, of course, needs to really understand what the strategy is, so that so that it moves forward in a good way. I was wondering, like, those digital strategies, like when we speak about the collections and the exhibitions, what's the biggest challenge there, with the permanent collection or with the temporary exhibition?
Right now we focus on the permanent collection, because it's going to be something that is going to evolve, that's in a more stable way, and it's going to be something that will move slowlier. The temporary exhibitions will, for example, be a way of an opportunity to test new techniques. For example, the next exhibition I prepared, that was supposed to open in 2020, but that I will curate finally in 2021. The artist worked on our collection and has on, well, we wanted to value the piece of our collection in his art. So we will put QR codes to invite the public to discover the source of his inspiration and how he chose to work with the piece chosen.
And of course, like, ceramics is a very fragile and precious medium, and you said before you wanted to tell stories through the digital tools that you're using. Do you have any examples about that, like concrete examples of what you did?
Yeah, actually what's interesting is that, for example, we talk a lot about globalization nowadays, and actually when you learn about the history of ceramics, you realize that it existed a long time ago, with the traveling of spices, of the techniques also. The techniques, we had the cobalt blue, who was discovered in Orient, Moyen Orient, Middle East. Middle East, thank you. That traveled to China before coming back and we had the red color, who traveled to China, and who Chinese started to work with, thanks to our Jesuit monks. So there are lots of stories that can be related to nowadays and to our daily lives.
And now, like, another type of question is like more like, would you be, you yourself as an institution, would you be interested to have more of those platforms where you can actually exchange among and between museums about best practices and about...
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Absolutely.
So that would be...
Absolutely. I followed some training since a year, and every time we try to keep in touch. And for example, I'm working on a contract for the web app, and the partner has a contract but we in the city of Geneva have other kinds of contracts, and with the experience I have to make sure everything is in line with, you know, and so I tried to get some more infos on people more experienced than I on
Yeah.
typically this completely daily question. And
Yes.
well, more administrative question.
And so as I asked to the two first museums, we have experts now looking at us. What would be your needs of experts, of expertise for the near and further future?
Expertise. Wow, this is a question I would need to reflect a bit more. I think it's to explore. There are so many things developing nowadays. Is to explore how to take advantage of what is existing to put in a very specific context. In fact.
Okay.
Probably. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
No, but like your needs right now in terms of help from external help could be.
Well, the needs, obviously what we'll need the expertise of the fournisseur of the partners, actually, because we don't have the expertise inside, so it's going to be developing as the other colleagues developing projects with partners, outside partners.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Sophie, for joining us this morning. I wish you a very nice day, and I hope you will have very interesting meetings.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now we go to Fribourg. I'm very pleased to have Magali, Yeni, and Irma de la Comba from the Tibet Museum. They will present their digital strategies, and we'll be back after for a few questions.
Yes, hello from Fribourg, exactly. So I'm just gonna put my screen on, share my screen. A sec. There we go. There. Okay. Hello, and thank you for inviting us at the Innovative Strategies for Digital Museum program. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So the Tibet Museum was born from the desire of a Swiss art collector to share his extensive collection of Tibetan art with a large public. The museum opened in 2009 in an ancient chapel set in the medieval town of Gruyère. The museum is privately financed by the Alain Bourdier Foundation, named after its founder. So compared to the museum we've seen until now, we are a small museum. The Tibet Museum operates with a small and dedicated team. We have 2 people who share part-time job equivalent to about 130%. They share the administrative and scientific functions. Then there is a few part-timers, I think at the moment 4, who work at the reception of the museum, and one freelancer who is occasionally charged with various consulting jobs. So as you can see, compared to the former museum we've heard, we have a very small team. The exhibition includes ancient Tibetan statue, ritual object, manuscript, and paintings, and we have about 360 objects. So again, we are really working on a different scale from the museum that we've seen before. So here we can see the inside of the museum. So the museum scenography was conceived by Mr. Bourdier. He's extremely fond of fine and sober aesthetic. So it chose to not spoil, let's say, the work of art with label of explanation. So since the opening of the museum, it was necessary to provide the visitors with a guide and it was on paper. And because it's dark in the museum, as you can see, it was necessary also to provide torches to the guests so they could actually read the guide. So when the museum decided to turn digital, the museum had different needs. It was necessary to get a new program for our database. So that was more concerning the backup. And also, if possible, that database needed to be online and to be used as a visitor guide. This digital turn was also going to give the museum the opportunity to renew its graphic image on a visual level, but also on a technological level, in order, if possible, to reach a new public, like younger visitors, the younger people, and also families. We were hoping to offer them a new, fun, and playful tool, easily accessible to discover the basic teaching of Tibetan Buddhism, which is a rather complex form of Buddhism. So I think we can say that our mantra was, for the tools that were going to be developed, was learning while having fun. So we were well assisted by the young and dynamic team of Transme in Geneva. But still, when we started this digital turn, the museum had some apprehension. Everything had to be conceived and tailor-made as per the request of the need of the museum. And mostly what was important for us was keeping in mind that a complex subject had to be accessible to a large public while bringing in a modern touch. So different tools were developed. To start, of course, a database that was created and is now available online. It allows the public to access the whole collection. Like also it was said before, the idea is with this, it allows people to access the collection before coming to the museum or after. We also have a web app, which is our museum guide. So now it's online. And to make sure that everybody is access to it when they come to the museum provide free Wi-Fi to the visitors. The idea is for the visitors to use their own smartphone or tablet. But if necessary, the museum provides different tablets for the guests. On top of that, we also created an augmented reality app. This idea with this was to offer a different way to visit the museum by presenting 4 different animated stories related to Tibetan Buddhism. So we're more in the context. It's more like giving a context instead of only explaining the object. They are to use this augmented reality app. The visitor can use, we have markers that are spread across the museum. And when the visitors bring their app close to these markers, the stories that we have prepared for them unfolds and is animated. We also have a poster that can be used in the museum or that can be bought and taken home, so the experience can be continued at home with this augmented reality. So that was also a way for us to make sure that people have an experience in the museum, but also after. So in addition to these different apps, we also made an animated film that tells the story of Mr. Bourdieu and also how the museum was born. And this can be seen on our new internet site, because to go on with this new graphic image, also a new internet site was made. Just to give you a better idea of what was developed for the Tibet Museum by Transme, we will show you now a short video so you can have an idea of what was developed. So, of course, all these changes did not come without challenges. First of all, in the museum team, nobody is a tech expert. So sometimes, even at the creation, it was difficult to understand the details of the project and the details of its conception. Also, we had some problem with the database. So the database transition, we had to go from FileMaker files to an online support. And that turned out to be sometimes a little difficult, especially in our database. We have some Tibetan and Sanskrit accentuation that turned into strange signs once they were online. The FileMaker's file had to be manually transferred. So this is still an ongoing project after more than a year of work. The content of the database had to be rethought to make sure that it would be scientific yet accessible to a large public. And also it had to be in 3 languages. So our main working language is French, but we also, so now it's available in English and German as well. I have to remember that in Gruyère, we also get international visitors because of the place where we're in. So and it's also important to be accessible to as many people as possible. On a more practical level, at the beginning, we had some problem with the new Wi-Fi connection, and that brought frustration for the visitors, but also for the museum colleagues. And to our surprise, some visitors were just not ready to use new technologies, and some of them actually requested the old paper guide that we used to provide. And that was a bit of a surprise for us. But of course, there's also a lot of plus sides. It is now easier and far less time consuming to update the database as well as the guide. Especially because Mr. Bourdier still sometimes add new objects to the collection and also move sometimes objects within the museum. So this update is really easy and fast. So that's very good, easy for us. The AR app, the augmented reality app, offers an interesting and fun content for family. We've realized that now for the children, they enjoy looking after the markers in the museum, about discovering the animated stories. The web app, the guide, offers a map of each galleries of the museum. And this also makes it easier for them to figure out where the objects are and also to find information. Sometimes it's still a little bit for some visitors to use the guide, the web app, but more or less we can see that with younger generation of visitors, it is for them, they're really at ease to use these new tools. So this in a way is a comforting way to see that we're going in the right direction, or at least we went in the right direction. And finally, this year with the pandemic, we've realized that it would have been almost impossible to handle the paper guides. So thankfully for the Tibet Museum, both the web app and the AR app have proven to be COVID compatible. And this has allowed us to keep our visitors informed in the best possible way. That this year has really proven to be, it was like a test, and it has shown us that it was a good thing that we now have this. So in conclusion, maybe just these new tools have been used by our visitors for a year now. This has given the team at the reception, has given them time to learn how to present these tools to make sure that in the museum, visitors of all age enjoy the experience. However, we've realized that we still need to improve our communication and marketing strategy about and also around these new technologies. We depend entirely on the private fund of the Alain Bourdier Foundation. And as you've seen, we are a really small entity. We are like a small player in the technological and museum leagues presented here today. So the museum can't afford specialized workforce, and and also we can't afford, at least for now, an extension of the original budget that was allotted for this important and necessary digital turn. So in the coming years, the Tibet Museum will have to find a balance between financial reality and the best communication strategy possible. So we're really looking forward to your question and advices. And we thank you very much for letting us play with you in the big leagues today.
Thank you very much, Irma, for this very precise and interesting presentation. Hi, Magali. Welcome too. So thank you. It was really interesting to have your point of view with, as you said, you're smaller, but still it's very, I mean, there are many museums like you in Switzerland, so it's really interesting to have you with us, of course. And my first question would be like, what made you actually decide to take this digital turn? Was it like... You can, if you, Magali, if you feel more comfortable to speak in French, no worries.
Yes, it's better for me and for you also.
Ok, alors, passons en français.
Alors, ce qui nous a décidé à prendre ce virage, c'était vraiment un besoin de modernisation totale. On fonctionnait vraiment avec ce guide papier qui était très, très rigide. On ne pouvait pas chaque fois réimprimer les guides papier et surtout, on ne pouvait pas mettre à disposition notre base de données puisqu'elle était sur FileMaker. Donc, à moins de venir dans le bureau, de se connecter sur notre propre ordinateur, on ne pouvait pas le faire. Et donc, c'était vraiment cette volonté de mettre à disposition ce savoir, de laisser quelque part en héritage pas seulement des objets tels qu'ils sont présentés dans le musée, mais aussi des connaissances. Et c'est comme ça qu'on a commencé à parler de ce tournant vers une numérisation. Et puis finalement, comme on était en train de faire ce grand chantier, avec des idées de professionnels, eh bien, on a eu ces conseils de développer une application, de faire un guide entièrement digital, etc. Donc, c'était vraiment un processus à la base de partage.
Et vous avez parlé de quelques appréhensions en fait au début, au moment de ce virage digital. Et je voulais savoir qu'est-ce qui vous a aidé en fait à surmonter en fait ces appréhensions.
Alors complètement la bienveillance des gens avec qui on a travaillé. C'était vraiment ça parce que comme Irma l'a dit, on n'est pas des spécialistes et donc l'accompagnement de personnes compétentes et bienveillantes aussi, c'est sûr que ça nous a aidés et ça nous a aussi aidés à ne plus avoir peur de ces outils et donc de pouvoir les transmettre aussi à nos collègues et à nos visiteurs sans peur, en disant voilà, c'est quelque chose d'extrêmement pratique, d'extrêmement ludique, d'extrêmement simple. Et c'est vrai que sans ces explications-là, oui, ça a été très, très difficile de comprendre, de s'orienter, mais voilà, tout a été basé sur la communication finalement.
Mais donc on voit qu'effectivement, les experts en fait, et les personnes qui viennent s'ajouter à des équipes comme les vôtres, elles ont clairement besoin d'une expertise importante, mais aussi d'une partie d'empathie et de compréhension dans la réalité dans laquelle vous vous trouvez. Et sans ces deux éléments, c'est très difficile de développer de nouvelles choses.
C'est exactement ça, parce qu'on a une réalité, mais on a une réalité financière, comme ça a été dit, on a une réalité géographique, une réalité physique, une réalité de collection. Je pense que c'est pour tout le monde pareil, mais dans un petit musée, surtout quand on commande des outils sur mesure, c'est vrai que c'est un processus très, très, très long et donc vraiment heureusement qu'on avait ces équipes autour de nous.
Tout à fait. Et est-ce que vous avez quel est le retour en fait de cette app que vous avez mis en place de la part des visiteurs?
Alors le retour, il est bon. que ce soit d'ailleurs avec le guide ou l'application en réalité augmentée. Pour toutes les deux, en fait, on se rend compte que le retour, il est bon. Si en effet, au début, il y a un tout petit peu aussi les gens sont, je dirais, de la surprise, mais on se rend compte que oui, les gens, ils apprécient aussi le fait que finalement, ils se disent que les explications, par exemple, en ce qui concerne le guide, que s'ils veulent les explications, ils peuvent aussi aller les voir après. Et ça, c'est aussi intéressant parce que quand on donnait un guide papier aux gens, ben, on est dans le musée puis il faut lire là. Tandis que là, finalement, on peut voir des choses qui nous plaisent dans les vitrines, des beaux objets, des objets qui vont peut-être nous toucher. Et puis, on n'a peut-être pas toujours envie à ce moment-là de lire, d'entrer dans l'intellect, j'ai envie de dire. Et donc, finalement, avec ce guide en ligne, si on a envie, on peut aller voir après. Donc, on peut se laisser aussi emmener par l'expérience dans le musée. Surtout, quelque part, dans notre musée à nous, il y a vraiment aussi cette volonté d'entrer dans une atmosphère, d'entrer dans une ambiance. Et en ce qui concerne l'application avec la réalité augmentée, là aussi, je pense que surtout au niveau des familles, on se rend compte que ça rend aussi le musée un peu plus accessible pour les jeunes, pour les enfants. Et là aussi, on a en général du bon retour.
Et du coup, là, vous l'avez bien précisé, mais on a du coup ces experts qui sont là, qui nous écoutent. Et puis, vous avez mentionné le fait en besoin peut-être pour toute la partie plutôt communication en fait autour du musée et communication autour de ce que vous avez fait. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous en dire un tout petit peu plus sur vos besoins en termes de communication peut-être?
On s'est rendu compte de deux choses. Donc, c'était aussi cette volonté de développer ces outils. C'est que le Tibet Museum existe depuis 11 ans à Gruyère et que même quand on dit à des fribourgeois qu'on travaille au Tibet Museum, ils ouvrent des yeux tout ronds en nous disant « Ah bon, il y a un Tibet Museum à Gruyère ». Et donc, voilà, on avait envie aussi de faire connaître le musée beaucoup plus parce qu'il le mérite évidemment. Et on s'est dit qu'à travers ces nouveaux outils, on aurait aussi beaucoup plus de facilité à communiquer, à proposer des nouveaux contenus, etc. Et c'est un peu l'élément sur lequel on est resté sur notre faim. On reste très inconnu d'un large public. Et c'est vrai que la communication par rapport à ces outils mis en place, mais par rapport aussi au musée tout court, c'est quelque chose qu'on doit absolument développer avec le peu de force de travail et le peu de moyens qu'on a.
Eh bien, on espère que les rencontres que vous allez avoir cet après-midi et demain vont vous permettre d'avoir quelques clés pour continuer sur votre lancée. En tout cas, merci beaucoup. Je vous souhaite une très bonne fin de matinée et à très bientôt. Merci d'avoir participé. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
So we're now at the end of our first part of this event today. We'll be back later at 5 with Laetitia Bochu from Virtual Switzerland. We will host a panel with Scott Gilliam from the Canadian Museum of Human Rights and Pascal Hufschmidt, director of the International Red Crescent Museum. And now, actually, next at 1:30, we'll be hosting another event called XR Co-Production Sessions. It will be the opportunity for you to meet and to see a pitch presentation from XR producers and creators. So we'll be back at 1:30. See you later. Bye-bye.